Origins. The first city in human history was not peaceful. It was built to control fear.
So why did civilization begin here, in chaos, instead of order?
The answer shaped cities, laws, and power itself. And it still shapes how we live today. Before laws, before kings, before writing, people here lived at the edge of disaster.
2 rivers controlled everything. They gave life. They also destroyed it without warning.
Unlike the Nile, these floods had no mercy. They arrived fast. They erased entire harvests.
Survival here demanded something new. People could not live alone anymore.
This pressure forged something new. The first cities. The first civilization.
Mesopotamia means the land between rivers. Those rivers decided who lived and who did not.
But these rivers were unpredictable. Floods came without warning.
Fields vanished in hours. Entire harvests were destroyed. Homes built from mud brick collapsed easily. Families rebuilt again and again.
There was no reliable season. Nature could not be trusted.
To survive, people had to organize. Individually, they failed. Together, they endured.
Canals were dug. Water was controlled, sometimes. Living here forced new rules. It reshaped belief, power, and society. Danger pushed people closer together. Living alone was no longer possible. Small villages expanded. Permanent cities began to form. Uruk, Ur, Lagash.
For the first time, strangers lived side by side. Privacy disappeared.
Food had to be counted. Survival depended on records. Work had to be assigned. Time became controlled.
Crowded life created conflict. Disputes became common.
Someone had to decide. Leadership emerged.
Cities protected themselves. Walls defined who belonged.
Trade expanded beyond survival. Cities became economic centers.
City life changed behavior. Rules replaced instinct.
Humanity was compressed into cities. Civilization was no longer optional.
In Mesopotamia, power was not assumed. It had to be enforced. These kings were not gods. They ruled fragile cities. Authority required explanation. The gods became that explanation. Kings claimed the gods supported them. Disobedience became sacrilege. Belief alone was not enough. Force stood behind every decision.
Cities demanded resources. Food, labor, and loyalty were extracted.
Kings ruled under constant threat. Rebellion was never far away. Conflict between cities was constant. War became policy.
No city remained dominant forever. Power shifted constantly. Mesopotamian gods were not gentle. They were powerful, distant, and unpredictable. Humans were not loved by the gods. They existed to serve them.
Fear drove obedience. Ritual became survival.
Offerings were constant. Appeasement was necessary.
Floods were not accidents. They were messages from the gods.
Myth explained what humans could not control. Stories warned of divine destruction. One flood could erase everything.
It's too fast! Help me! We must reach the top!
Life became negotiation between humans and unseen forces.
Priests claimed to understand the gods. They became intermediaries.
Fear created order. Belief held society together.
Oral memory was no longer enough. Cities were too large, resources too complex. Grain had to be counted. Labor had to be tracked. Symbols replaced spoken words. Writing was born from accounting. Cuneiform became permanent memory. Information could outlive people. Contracts, marriages, trade agreements. Rules had to be fixed. Justice had to be visible. King Hammurabi codified punishment. Law became standardized power. Hammurabi did not rule alone. Power was staged, guarded, and enforced.
Punishment was public. Order depended on fear and clarity.
Kings died. Laws remained. Writing allowed civilization to remember itself.
Most people in Mesopotamia were not kings or priests. They were workers. Farmers fed the cities. Their labor determined survival. Craftsmen supported the economy. Skill meant stability. Trade connected distant regions. Cities depended on exchange. Families lived close together. Home offered little privacy.
Women held legal and economic roles, but status depended on class.
Slavery was part of daily life. It was regulated by law. Children worked young. Survival came first.
Daily life followed strict routines. Order prevented collapse.
Life was hard, but it was sustainable until it wasn't.
Mesopotamian cities competed constantly. Resources were limited. Rivalry was unavoidable.
War was not an exception. It was normal policy.
Around 2300 BCE, Akkad conquered Sumer. The first empire was born.
The empire expanded rapidly. Control spread by force.
The empire became difficult to control. Distance weakened authority. Rebellion followed expansion. Stability collapsed from within.
Cities fell. Populations scattered.
Civilization did not end. It reset.
This cycle repeated for centuries. Rise, expansion, collapse.
Mesopotamia did not disappear. Its ideas survived the collapse.
Writing spread beyond Mesopotamia. Others learned to record power. Law outlived kings. Future empires copied its structure.
Cities became humanity's permanent form. There was no return. Government, religion, and economy merged here. Later civilizations followed the same blueprint.
Others would build on it. Egypt, Indus, China. But it began here, between two rivers.